Alright, we've all been in a situation where we have an image and we need to save it in a reduced file size in order to either upload it to a website, send it off for production at a print house, or email it to a friend. So in this video, what I'm going to demonstrate is how to use the Adobe Save for Web dialog box to control not only the size of your image, but also the quality of that image. So we have here an image that's rather large. It's 3500 by 2300 pixels, and I want to save this image in a size that's much smaller, say around 600 by 900. So I'm going to go to File, down to Save for Web, and Devices. The first thing we see here is the image exceeds the size Save for Web and Devices was designed for, meaning that this image is rather large and the performance of this dialog box may be slowed down. That's alright, but just be warned. Okay, so here we are within the Save for Web dialog box, and I'm going to quickly go through the various features of this dialog box to better understand what each feature does. In the top left corner you see Original, Optimized, 2-up, and 4-up. If you click the Original tab, you see one preview, and this is your original image outside of any file formatting or optimization. The next tab, the Optimized tab, is the tab that shows how your file will look once you apply some optimization settings. Then you have a 2-up tab. That 2-up is a comparison of your original on the left. You can see that in the lower left-hand corner here. And your optimized file, which you can see here on the right. And then you have a 4-up option, which again, this is now comparing your original in the upper left-hand corner to 3 other optimization settings, which you can select and apply various optimization settings to. Alright, for this demonstration we're going to work within the 2-up optimization model. On the left-hand side we see the hand tool, which gives you the ability to move around, a slice tool, which gives you the ability to select slices if you had multiple slices, the zoom tool, which allows you to zoom in and zoom out. Holding the Option key will give you the zoom out feature. And then you have the eyedropper tool, which is used for setting your matte color. Okay, so one thing to note is that on the bottom left is your zoom factor, and we always want to work at 100% because in this case we're working on a file that we want to see viewed on the web, and knowing that we're not going to be zooming in on the internet, as files are pretty much controlled and locked to the size that the designer dictates. Okay, so on the right is our panel, which we use to control all of our various settings. The first thing we have is on the top menu is the file format. In this case, let's work with the JPEG. And we're going to work with the various settings here just so that I can show you how they affect your image. And the first we have from low to maximum. In the low, medium, high, very high, and maximum, it's describing the amount of compression that's being applied to your image. Now it's sort of counterintuitive. The low setting applies the greatest amount of compression, and you can see that here in these little squares and what I call Jpeg artifacts. As I adjust this upwards from medium to high and eventually to very high, you can see those little squares, they have disappeared entirely. And that's what you're looking for in this compression. Now remember, the low is the most compression, maximum is the least amount of compression, or what that dialog box means is it's the maximum file size. To the right of that is the quality slider. So if you select very high, for example, you can actually adjust that control to fine-tune it. And what you're looking for is the ideal image, which is of the highest quality and the lowest file size. Now, as I showed you in the demonstration, in the low setting, I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but there's these little boxes that result as a as the process of the JPEG algorithm compresses this file. But we can see in the bottom left-hand corner that the JPEG file it's 187.2 kilobytes. Now if I bring that up to the maximum setting, we can see that that jumps to 3.826 megabytes. Much bigger file. So we're looking for something in between. And what I mean by that is you're looking for a file that doesn't have the JPEG artifacting, but yet has a file size that's relatively small. Alright, moving on down through the box here, you can apply blur to your images, which will actually reduce the file size some. Not something I recommend. Progressive is a setting that you can use so that websites will render that image in a progressive fashion. So rather than waiting until it downloads entirely to your computer when visiting a website, it will progressively appear on that website. Not something I recommend. Optimized, it's not compatible with all browsers and all OSs, so I don't recommend using the optimized setting. And then again, embedding a color profile only increases file size, and for the case of websites, it's not recommended. Okay, so we can convert to sRGB, which we know is the color space for the internet. We're going to leave that on. And then we're going to ignore these other two features. They're just about the preview and metadata, whether or not you want to include that. Then we're going to come on down to the image size. In this case, here's where we can adjust the size of the file. And remember, we're looking for a file that's around 600 pixels high by 900 pixels wide. You want to always leave this toggle to maintain proportions selected. If you break that link, you can then kind of adjust these things outside of their proportions, which is only going to stretch your image, not giving it the ideal look, obviously. So again, we're going to adjust that to 900 by 600. I'm going to come down here again now. Look at our file size. It's now 63.71 kilobytes. We're going to look here, make sure that we don't have any JPEG artifacting, and we can see a little bit around the fringe areas of this business card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bump that up to very high, because I can still see that my JPEG is still under 200 kilobytes, which is a very small file. So it'll download quickly on the website. Okay, so that's the Save As dialog box. It's a quick overview of how to use it. I use it all the time because I like to save my files as a specific size while previewing the quality of those files as each one of them are saved. So when you're all said and done, you click Save. It's going to ask you to save it to a specific location. You can give it a name and then click Save. And that completes this tutorial on the Save for Web dialog box.